Episode 16, Rogue One Reaction Show. And where's Force Awakens?
Oh, crap. Okay.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of 5 to 1. 5 to 1 is all about the countdown from our panel of experts on a different topic each week. But today, we're not doing a countdown. We have a special episode for you as we give our instant reactions to Rogue One. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to apologize in advance. I am a bit under the weather, fighting a head cold or an upper respiratory infection or something. So I'm a bit congested. Cade is also congested. You probably heard him sniff there because he forgot to turn his head.
So was my best friend, Rylan.
So was Rylan. So there's something going around, but we don't leave any fans behind. So we are here recording, fighting through our illnesses, and we were out braving the elements on Thursday night when we saw Rogue One on opening night, preview night, actually. Last December, we saw the return of Star Wars to the big screen with The Force Awakens, and we are spoiled now with another new Star Wars movie just 1 year later. And it's a fun time to be a Star Wars fan. But how does this one stack up? How do we feel about it not being part of the episodic saga? Well, let's find out. So hosting duties today will be handled by the three of us. I am the Phantom Mencris.
Oh, sweet.
And I am joined by my two rebellious sons, my 12-year-old The Force Acadans and my 9-year-old Return of the Jedi.
Oh, mine is the best one.
Yours, I went for the obvious one. It was really easy because, you're Anyway, so before we get started, we did a couple of things last week, and one of the things I had you do, Jet, was when we did the Glenn Solomon Fun Fact of the Week, I had to make a laser sound effect. Do you remember that?
No, not entirely.
Maybe you'll remember when you hear this that I created for our show.
Pew, pew, pew. Oh, yeah, I remember
Glenn
that.
Solomon Fun Fact of the Week.
Pew, pew, pew,
Good.
pew.
So you remember that now?
Yeah, I
Okay, so
remember.
we don't have a fun fact of the week for our special episode today, but I wanted to play that because when I was messing around with the settings, I also found out how you can do this.
Pew, pew, pew,
Good.
pew.
So it's like super slow-mo.
That's creepy. It sounds like a sorcerer or something like that.
Really creepy, right? So,
You should do that more often.
yeah, that was cool. And so when I did that, I also did this thing called slow speech or drunk talk, where supposedly if you take somebody's normal speech and if you slow it down by 50%, it makes it sound like they're drunk. So I tried to do that for us, and I haven't perfected it yet, but I did get this little clip. So here, you can listen to it here. Hang on.
Oh my gosh!
Have you seen the trailer?
This is the original.
Yeah.
That's what the freaking movie is
That's
about.
a prediction?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
hold on. The movie is about how they got the other plans to
Then
the
my
Death
prediction's
Star.
true.
I predicted it's in space.
Oh my gosh!
Have you seen the trailer?
It's all.
Yeah.
That's what the freaking movie's
That's
about.
a prediction.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Do we sound drunk?
Yes.
The movie is about how they got the other plans to the
Then my
Death
prediction's
Star.
true.
I predicted it's
What
in
is it?
space.
You know what it sounds like?
What?
The fanboys when they're eating the guacamole. And
Oh,
they're all-
yeah.
there's like the
Oh,
weird
I
noises and
remember
they're like laughing.
That's
and
because it wasn't guacamole. They had peyote is what it was, which is a drug.
Oh.
So close to guacamole, I guess. But yeah, so that's what it was
I
like.
haven't seen Fanboys in forever.
Yeah, I know. So once I figure out how to do that where it's a little bit clearer, we'll do drunk talk every week and listen to ourselves in slow motion. How about that?
yes.
Yep.
All right, so let's get right into it. Yeah, we saw Rogue One on Thursday night, which was the earliest showing available to us. I wish we could have recorded this right away, but we got home pretty late, and you guys had school on Friday. So before we get into it, Jet, we need to play probably a spoiler alert, you think?
Yep.
Okay, check this out.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
So you've all been warned.
That was me.
That was Jet with some sound effect enhancements on there. You've all been warned. We will be spoiling this movie. We will be spoiling the crap out of this movie because we're going to be talking about our reactions to it, and that will include character, plot, and end movie spoilers.
And
so
who's in it and what it's about and everything.
that's character and plot, right? So
Yeah.
let's not. You can't blame us if you don't want to hear what this movie's about. If you haven't seen it yet, shut this off now. Go watch the movie. Come back and finish this podcast. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what are your initial thoughts before we get into the details? What's your overall opinion? Did you like it? Did you love it?
I loved it.
I loved it, but I don't think it's nearly as good as any of the other prequels.
Okay. So, were you pleased or disappointed?
Pleased.
Was it better than you expected?
Yes, I thought it was going to be like completely warped, but there's more Star Wars in it than I thought. there
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm along the same lines as you guys. I think we'll get into the rankings a little bit. I think I might like it a little bit more than you guys did, but it is about what I expected, and my fears that it was going to suck. Well, at least it didn't suck, right?
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty good, and the end was
Well,
really, really good.
If we have to be honest, even if a Star Wars movie suck, I doubt we'll even admit it.
That might be true. We are fanboys, but it didn't suck.
I rank it now that you made me. You said that and you made me
Oh,
think about
'cause
it.
Dad
It is
said it?
better. It's better than.
Save that because we're going to get to the ranking at some point in our conversation here. So let's hold on to that. Let's get into the details a little bit, and we'll talk about the new characters. Right? We were introduced to several new characters in this movie.
I can name them all.
Let me hear you.
K2SO, Cassie.
Cassian Andor, who was the kind of like rebel guy that found Jyn Erso, right?
Yeah, and Jyn Erso,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot the other two.
There's Baze and Chirrut. Those are the two kind of like Jedi Force followers.
The blind guy and
The blind guy's Chirrut, and his friend is Baze. There was the Imperial pilot who left to go find Saw Gerrera and then became part of their crew. His name was... I just had it, and now I forgot it.
I don't know. He was awesome. I liked him. I
He
liked
was
all
cool.
of them.
And I'm forgetting his name. Saw Gerrera is Forrest Whitaker, the black
Wait,
guy
did I
with
name
the eye.
K2SO?
You did name K2SO. So yeah, a lot of new characters. Did you latch on to any of them the way you latch on to characters from the saga?
Very, very. I really latched on to the blind guy and his friend.
Chirrut and
What?
Baze.
Chirrut and Base. Yeah, they're like my favorite characters.
I can't answer that because I don't know what latched on means.
Did you connect with any of them? Did you feel a connection to them the way you connect to Luke and Obi-Wan and Anakin?
Maybe one, like Cassie kind of reminded
Cassian?
Cassian.
Cassie's a girl's name. That is actually the sister of one of our main listeners, Nick. His sister's name is Cassie. His character is a boy, so his name is Cassian Andor.
He reminds me of what's it called? Han Solo a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what?
Bodhi Rook. That was the pilot's name that
Yeah.
defected from the Empire.
I did not really latch on to Jyn Erso or Cassian. They were like side to me. Like I really focused on the other characters.
So who did you connect with then?
The
Baze and Chirrut?
Base and Chirrut.
My favorite character is probably K2SO, Cassie, or
Cassian.
Cassian. I'm just gonna call him Cassie. Cassie, K2SO, or the blind guy.
Okay, Chirrut. So
Probably Cassian.
I latched on to Cassian more than Jyn.
which death affected you the most?
K2SO.
I mean, K2SO.
His death was really sad.
Yeah, his death was really sad, but I mean, like,
He got to use a blaster at least.
Yeah.
but like, I just feel like it wasn't the most shocking death.
None of them were shocking to me.
Yeah.
But I think, was the most gut-wrenching. And even though he's a droid, just because of the way it happened, he was taking shot after shot after shot while he was still trying to do his
think the
part to
blind
save the
guy
rebellion.
Was the worst death.
Yeah,
Because
Chirrut.
it was the saddest to me because he was just walking through it like using the Force, then he died by the explosion.
Yeah, that one was sad too. Bodhi Rooks was sad because he was in the ship. He finally got the connection to
Yeah.
send the signal, and then somebody threw a grenade in there. I think we'll get into our predictions in a bit, but we all kind of talked about we expected some of the main characters to die, if not all of them.
Well, before the movie, I was not like, oh my gosh, this guy died, because they were all gonna die because they're not in any of the other movies. So it kind of makes sense, and I wasn't very like shocked.
So-
oh my god.
Yeah.
What? I had a question that I thought in my head. You know the blind guy that died and his
Chirrut, yeah.
yeah, and his like kind of his best friend.
Baze.
Yeah, and remember that trooper that had a grenade in his hand? That's how he died. Do you think he died that because he wanted to be with his friend, or he couldn't like move?
He got shot like 3 times. He got shot like 3
He got
times.
shot a bunch of times. He knew his death was coming. It's not because he wanted to die. He just knew he was about to die, so he looked back at his friend saying, okay, I'm about to join you. It wasn't that he wanted to.
Okay.
Those grenades are pretty deadly. They killed a lot of people.
Yeah, speaking of, this movie was pretty deadly, right? It was
Yeah.
it was much more brutal than other Star Wars
Or
movies.
gruesome.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
So I didn't really latch on to any of the characters like I do characters from the original movies, but I think that's almost the point of this movie. It was more of an ensemble cast. Do you know what ensemble means, Jet?
Nope.
People working together as a team, as opposed to having one main protagonist or hero. So we were supposed to latch on to Luke in the original movies because he was the hero. He was the farm boy. It was his story. In the prequel trilogy, you were supposed to latch on to Anakin and kind of Obi-Wan too. This was more of a crew. They worked together, and instead of picking one individually that I was really hooked on, it was more of like the team working together that worked for me. So, and I'm okay with that. It's different than other Star Wars movies, but it worked for this one.
I like the new aliens and the new look for the stormtroopers also.
The stormtroopers looked really cool.
I like some of the aliens that I saw too.
Yeah,
I've never seen before.
They did good with the aliens.
I think I only saw one new alien. All the rest looked the same to
I saw
me.
quite a few. There were quite a few different ones in
I don't know
there.
if this one's new or not, but he was fighting with the guys. He was like an X-ray, He was like an alien. He screamed and he had like a really big, open, wide mouth. Remember him?
Yeah,
The one-
I remember the little short guy.
Yeah, the little short
Oh yeah,
guy.
yeah.
No,
He's-
he's
I liked him. He was cool.
I've seen him before.
he
like
kind
when
of
he
looks like an
screamed.
Ugnaught, but he's not. Maybe you're confusing him with an Ugnaught.
Yeah, he was in the ship.
Yeah, he was in
Is
the
the
ship.
Ugnaught
The piggy guys, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. The one that I saw new is when it showed the main character, the girl,
Jin Erso.
and when she's in prison
Yeah.
and she sees the alien sleeping. I've never seen that one.
Yeah, he was
before.
definitely new also. There were quite a few new ones. What about the alien that, like, with the tentacles that read the mind of
That thing was weird.
Bodhi Rook?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that thing was weird. Okay, so speaking of Jin Erso, what did you feel about her as kind of the lead character in this movie? Did you like her?
Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
preferred her how it was before when she wasn't so hope. Like, just like, I'm doing this for rebellion.
no,
Yeah.
not for me. I think she's like cooler, like the rebellion. I think she's more focused on like the mission now.
So did you like her as the kind of the main character of this movie? Can you
Yeah,
how would you think she compares to Rey?
I was thinking that.
I couldn't compare her to
I think
Rey.
they're totally different characters. Really.
But I mean, okay, I know they are different characters, but how does she compare on your fan scale to how much you like Rey?
oh, Rey's way more.
Rey's a lot better.
I agree. So this is a larger question. How do you guys feel about the last two movies now? The main protagonist has been a female. Are you able to identify with a female hero as much as you would be able to with a male hero?
Sorta, maybe not as much.
For me, I honestly just think it's the exact same.
Yeah, so it doesn't make a difference to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I feel like there's been a trend in Hollywood over the past X amount of years where, you had the Hunger Games come out where the hero is a girl, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of those movies, but they're okay. And I love Jennifer Lawrence. She's one of my favorite actresses.
Really?
You had Divergent,
That was a good one.
which is kind of like a Hunger Games type series. And again, the hero
The books are way better.
is a female. Disney movies have started to trend away from having the princess that needs to be rescued by the male hero, and now the heroes are female too. If you look at Frozen and
It's all the
Brave
feminists
and
nowadays.
Tangled, which is fine. I have no problem with that. Sometimes I feel that it's a bit forced, and in this case, leading into this movie, I thought, okay, now they're shoehorning in a female lead character 2 movies in a row, and it's not necessary, but it still works. So it doesn't bother me as long as it doesn't disrupt the story. And in this case, and in the case of The Force Awakens, it didn't disrupt the story for me at all. I sometimes wondered, that's why I asked you guys, I'm an adult and I can I can bond with any character, but as a young kid watching the movies, when I was a young kid, I didn't latch on to female characters at all. So I was wondering if you guys had any trouble with that.
Yeah, that used to be me, but like, I think, Dad, you were right. You've said it a few times. Like when I get older, like you won't only focus on action. like on the story, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm kind of running towards, like the story.
Yeah, it's story, and as long as they develop the character, Rey is one of my favorite all-time Star Wars characters. Like,
Same
I had
for me.
no problem identifying with her. Jen Erso was a little bit weaker, but so was I think she wasn't meant to be a Skywalker type character, right?
Yeah.
This is a
Right.
different story. But I don't know. I don't have any problem with it at all. It sounds like you guys don't either, but I was just curious to see, like, if they came out with another Han Solo movies next, but let's say it wasn't Han Solo, it was another standalone story, and again, the lead character was female, would you feel like, okay, now they're doing it every movie?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's what I would feel like.
Well, and the thing is, like, Star Wars has always been, in my opinion, a platform to, like, George Lucas was very much into this, and Kathleen Kennedy, who took over for George Lucas, is into this. They embrace diversity. You know, they embrace being different, and they embrace giving a platform for females to be heroes. Leia wasn't the main character in the original movies, but she was a hero, and she had a lot of
Yeah.
spunk, and she had a lot of heroic qualities about her, and drove that story. And
So did Han.
or so did Han. Yeah.
You know
So-
what I don't like though?
What?
Is that how they're making shows and movies about these girl superheroes that were originally boy heroes?
See, that's when
Supergirl, Batgirl.
Well-
like,
Yeah.
sometimes they change things, and it changes the nature of the story, and then I feel like it's forced, right? And if they did a reboot and remade Star Wars and they cast Luke as a girl, I would have a big problem with that. Not because she's a girl, but because now it's a different story.
yeah.
Now, Supergirl and Batgirl, I think they have a home in the comics, so it's, they're just rehashing that, and it's fine because, let's face it, Star Wars and heroes and comic books have been a boys' club for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's fine to let girls into that club. I think it's a good idea. Star Wars should be for everybody.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to feel like it's forced. That's all I'm saying. And I don't feel like they've gone there yet, but I was curious to how you guys reacted. That's why I asked the question. Okay, so what about the one thing I noticed about this movie right off the bat? Cassian Andor was meeting up with that spy, and they were talking about some type of plans, and some stormtroopers came in, and Cassian shot them, and the guy was like, great, what are we going to do now? I'm stuck here. I can't climb the wall, like, you've got a hurt arm. And what did Cassian do?
Shot him.
He shot the guy. Okay, so that's not like your good guys, your rebels that you're used to. This movie dealt a lot more in the gray area. Original Star Wars, black and white, good and bad, right? There's no
Right.
gray. This was very gray. Especially, they gave Cassian the kill order for Saw Gerrera,
And he had no problem with it.
and he had no problem with it. And they gave him the kill order for Galen Erso without knowing if he was a good guy or bad guy. So this is before, I think maybe the point of this movie, we'll get to this later, was to give the rebels some hope. That's what Leia said at the end. The
Yeah.
next movie is A New Hope. They didn't have much of that, and I think they dealt a lot more in that gray area. Are they good guys? They're doing what they have to do to take down the Empire, but is it always the right thing to do? How'd you guys
Not
feel
always.
about that?
I loved it. I like that. We've been focusing a lot on hope in Star Wars for a while.
Well,
and
that's
it's kinda
what I kind of
to
like
see-
about it.
I know it's really cool about it, but it's just kind of cool to see something new.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on we're gonna do this for the right and not just
So I was going to save this until the end because I have some notes here, but it fits in what we're talking about now. Original Star Wars, saga Star Wars, let's not call it original because including the prequels, is very much a modern myth. We have these myths, these mythic tales that have been passed down for thousands of generations. George Lucas is, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, a modern myth maker. His stories are very mythic in nature. They're big stories. They have good and evil, and they're huge in their everything about him. He takes big swings, and when he connects, it's out of the park.
It's like
When he misses, it's pretty bad, right? Yeah. But he's not afraid to take those risks. This movie was not a mythic story. It was a
Yeah.
very small part of a bigger story, which is fine. But to me, because of that, it's more like the Clone Wars or like Rebels or like expanded universe books and comics where they're taking a small section of the universe and, hey, let's show you all the stuff about that. You're still in the Star Wars galaxy, but we're not swinging for the fences here. This isn't a big mythic story.
It's not about
This is a
killing
small.
It's not like about killing and saving the galaxy. It's about doing one small thing, right?
Yeah,
and then that helps.
It's smaller in scale, and they don't follow kind of the hero's journey type of storytelling, which is, a quality of mythic tales like your Hercules, right, and your
Right.
Luke Skywalker, and people that have these stories that turn into myths and legends down the road, it didn't have those qualities. And that's okay. I think that's why it felt different for me than other Star Wars movies.
What I thought that they did really good on the story, like when Clone Wars just came out, you know that Saw Gerrera dude?
Saw Gerrera?
Yeah. I can't believe he was actually in the movie though. He's like related to, you know, that girl.
Yeah, so there was a few episodes in the Clone Wars. He was a small character, but I haven't seen him in years. But I think Ahsoka, who's another female hero in the Star Wars universe, recent, right? She goes to, I think it's Onderon is the name of the planet, and leads a very small group of people who are rebelling there. But it's not the rebellion yet because there's no empire yet. But they're rebelling against whatever's on their planet, and they end up becoming a pocket of the rebellion for later on.
Do you think Ahsoka's dead?
I really don't think so.
I think so.
I do too.
So we're getting off topic here, but we do that in the very last episode of the last season when she fights Vader. You see Vader leaving.
No spoiler.
And then you see, I don't know if you guys noticed this, you see Ahsoka going back into the temple, but you can't tell if it's like a spirit, ghost Ahsoka, or real Ahsoka. And if it was real Ahsoka, why would she be going back in there?
Yeah.
So my thought is that he probably killed her, and either her spirit is like trapped in that building, or is staying there to maybe fight off that Sith spirit that we know is there because you heard the voice when that the holocron was open.
Yeah.
But she could still be alive. The potential is that they left that door open, but I think she's dead.
I do too.
I hope she's not. She's like my favorite girl character ever in Star Wars.
Yeah, I love Ahsoka. She's awesome.
My favorite girl character in Star Wars is either like Leia or Rey.
Ray for me, but Ahsoka's is high up there.
You know another girl character I really like? It's the Force Awakens girl. She had the same like lightsabers, not lightsabers. I forgot her name.
Force Unleashed, you mean?
Force Unleashed, yes.
Maris Brood.
Maris Brood, yeah.
Yeah, but she's not canon.
I know.
Okay.
She's pretty cool.
Well, let's move on. Cameo appearances, okay? There were quite a few of them. The biggest one was probably Vader or Tarkin.
Who was on my list.
We saw Leia, right at the very end. We saw R2D2. We saw C3PO. Both of them very briefly.
How come no one tells me?
Yeah.
Anything, R2?
Yeah.
We saw Bail Organa. We saw those two thugs.
Organa.
We saw Mon Mothma. Yeah, we saw two thugs from the cantina. The ones that Obi-Wan cuts off their arm.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba are the characters' names.
Both of us, we were all looking at each other like, hey.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah, and it was funny because they almost had the same lines because they got bumped into, and he was like, hey, just like how the fight started in the cantina.
That part was awesome.
Yeah.
That part is bloody.
In the original, it is, yeah. Not this one. They didn't.
It's probably the most blood I've ever seen in
And
Star
also,
Wars.
one thing that they did, like, what was a lot different, like 1 through 6, like if you get shot by a blaster bullet, like you're dead, like immediately. But in this one, you could take a few shots.
It depends where they hit you, just like a real gun. I mean, if you get shot in the arm by a blaster, you're not dead. Chewbacca got shot in the arm in The Force Awakens.
And he's still alive.
Yeah. Kylo Ren got shot in the leg. He's still alive.
If Chewbacca is like gonna die, like Han Solo, I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah, well, let's table that for a episode 8 discussion. Let's get back to Rogue One here, talking about cameos. The Vader had 2 scenes. Okay, he was in a little bit more than that, but 2 main scenes. One, he was talking to Krennic, who was the guy who was the lead designer of the Death Star. I didn't like that scene very much, to be honest. Now, it was really it's Vader's castle, by the way, on Mustafar. Like, it's been rumored and talked about for a long time. It's never been in a movie. He has like a castle on Mustafar, and that's it. And you see him at first, he's in that back to tank.
Yeah, I like that part.
That part was really cool, I thought, too. But then the talk he has afterwards with Krennic kind of fell flat for me. He wasn't...
Yeah.
It wasn't... He said too many words for Vader. He should be to the point, concise, brief.
6 words per sentence.
Yeah,
And then brief.
but he talked a lot. And then he choked him at the end, which was cool. But then the line afterwards I thought was kind of cheesy. He said, don't choke on your aspirations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't dig that part a whole lot, except the back to tank when he was floating in there.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's
that
just
was
so
really cool.
awesome.
However, the second big scene with Vader,
Was
holy
awesome.
that's my life.
I know, it's so cool.
Oh my
So
gosh,
cool.
it was so cool. He cut down he turns on the lightsaber, and you're like, okay, it's about to go down, and just mows through those rebel soldiers.
Yeah, what was so awesome, like usually I don't see it, but he was moving his lightsaber so fast, deflecting those bullets.
Yeah, but like it was nothing though, right?
Right. He was like Star Killer up in that joint.
Yeah, he like lifted guys up to the ceiling and threw them around and took all their guns at one
And
time.
then he stabbed that one guy through the door, and the door opened, and it cut him and the door at the same time. He just falls down.
That was the best part in the whole movie, in my opinion. I had goosebumps all over at that part.
One part
And they're like passing like the planes, like come on, come on, come on.
Yeah.
Well, one part I got so nervous by, like, are they gonna get it in the escape pod? Like, they hardly escaped.
Yeah,
And
I
like
know.
and I liked in the ship that they were trying to get it to Leia, you know? I like how they're all dying in the background, and then Darth Vader's just in the background, like, cutting somebody in half, and then the guy's just, like, throwing the planes, and it's focusing on him, but in the background, all you can see is just Vader killing, like, 20 guys.
And
Yeah.
what's good, you see the stormtroopers again.
Yeah.
In number 7,
the
they're
original,
not there.
You're right. They're different. I mean, they have troopers, but they look a little different.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of years, so their uniforms and design have changed. Yeah, but that was the best part in the whole movie, in my opinion.
Same. I agree.
What about you? You think so, Cade?
Oh, yeah.
The best thing from
The last 20 minutes are just past everything else that happened.
it was
Yeah.
it had a lot of action in it, I thought.
There was a lot of action. It felt like a war movie a little bit.
You know what they didn't have, though, that I really, really hate? The William scream.
The Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm, well, not William.
I just thought of this. It reminds
I don't know if they
me,
had one or not.
It
They
reminds
didn't
me
have
of
one.
300. Like, the main character dies and stuff. They all lose in
Yeah.
the war.
But they won. They got.
I mean,
You'll never win.
you know what I mean. Like, the main character loses, like, dies.
You'll never
Yeah.
win.
Oh, by the way, I thought of another movie where that happens that you have seen a bunch of times.
What?
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So another note I had here was the music. So not composed by John Williams, and I could tell. I don't know if you guys felt that way at all, but
I didn't, like, pay attention to the music, really.
well, even in The Force Awakens, which for a John Williams and a Star Wars score, it was a bit subdued when it comes to like the grand sweeping musical themes that we're used to. But it still had music that stood out to me more than Rogue One does. Like when you think about the Jedi Steps song when they're walking up,
so cool.
or Rey's theme, some of those themes, even Kylo Ren's theme, they stick out to me even now. I love those songs. Rogue One, I don't know of any original music in that movie that stood out to me. Now they had a few, like the Imperial March played when they showed Vader for the first time, and I was like, oh, here's some music because it's John Williams. So the composer was Michael Giacchino, I think is how he says his name. Mm-hmm. He's a huge Star Wars and a huge John Williams fan, and he was probably a good choice if you're not going to have Williams, but he's not John Williams. And here's I have a little test
Was the
for you guys.
music good to you?
Hold on, we'll get there. Here's a test. Can you hum the theme to Star Wars?
Which one?
The main theme. Bum, ba, 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 da, 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 da. Okay, can you do Indiana Jones?
Wait.
Bum, ba, dum, bum, bum, ba, da. Can you do Harry Potter?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you
That's
do
Hedwig's theme.
Jurassic Park, even though you've barely seen it?
No.
Bum, bum, bum. There you go. So these are all John Williams scores. They're all extremely memorable, right? Can you hum me the theme to The Avengers?
What?
How about Captain America?
No.
Spider-Man?
I don't pay attention to that movie.
Spider-Man. I know some of it.
Iron Man? Thor?
I am.
That's not
Iron Man.
score.
Song.
That's not score. I'm talking score. What about Thor?
Nope. Never.
Okay, so
No one
there's
pays attention to that.
there's a reason no one pays attention to that. You're not supposed to. That's the trend these days, is that the score is not supposed to be noticed. It's only supposed to kind of like highlight what's going on. So if it's an action or a suspense scene, you'll have a suspenseful theme in the background.
I know
if it's-
Spider-Man some.
Can you hum it? I
Not
mean, if
really.
I played it
I
for
heard
you,
BB-8.
you would recognize it. If I
Yeah.
played Avengers for you, you would recognize
I
it.
heard
But
BB-8 just faintly.
it's my text. I'm getting the guys are texting me. I should turn my ringer off. But
It's cool. It's cool.
that's the trend these days because people are scared. And I listened to a long podcast on this actually. Hollywood is scared that if you have big sweeping themes like Star Wars themes, and you try to digitize those, you're not using an orchestra. they come across as cheesy because you can't recreate it as realistically as you can when an orchestra plays it. And all these movies have digitally scored themes because it's cheaper and faster and easier. You can do it and the director can listen to it right afterwards and he can say, I like it or I don't like it or change this, and they can go back and do it. The way John Williams works, you give him a copy of the movie when it's done and he looks at it and he scores the whole thing, writes it on piano, then goes and records it with an orchestra, and then the director's like, oh wait, I don't like it. Then he's going to go rewrite music on the piano, and it's hard and it's a lot of work, but it
really pays off.
It does pay off. So, but the thing is that the Hollywood trend these days is to avoid these really memorable, hummable tunes, because if they sound bad when it's digital, it's embarrassing. They don't want to be embarrassed by it. So they do these like themes that nobody notices. And I felt a little bit that way for Rogue One.
I have a question about music. Like, if you're a director like John Williams and you like make the music and, you know, plan it out, are you good at music or do you just like make it and know it?
When you say good at music, do you mean like good at playing an instrument? Yeah. Well, he writes his music on the piano for the most part. They all do it differently. Usually people who are good at writing music can play instruments because they have a natural tendency to want to do that. Yeah. And they have a natural ability. If you can write music, that means you can visualize how it's played on an instrument. So John Williams is writing music for pianos and violins and brass instruments and all the stringed instruments and all the wind instruments. And he writes music for the celeste, which is another. So he has to have a working knowledge of those instruments to be able to write music for them.
Yeah.
So yes, they are probably good at playing instruments too. Okay, so I didn't notice the music either, except when it harkened back to the original score, and I don't know how I feel about that. I
think they played one original song when it said Rogue One and all yellow.
That was the new song. It was not an original. I don't know. It's a little scary. John Williams, I believe, has signed on to do episode 8. He's 85 years old.
Oh my gosh.
He's, at some point he's either going to retire or he's not going to live forever. So it's a little bit scary because there is really nobody like him, in my opinion. He's, Hans Zimmer is a big name out there, but he's the one who kind of revolutionized the digital scoring of music. So it's all, he's not composing music the way John Williams is anymore.
I think John Williams is the only one I know that like makes music.
Danny Elfman.
I don't know
and Hans Zimmer. These are some very famous music score composers for movies. And there's a new wave of younger guys, but they all do it digitally. So anyway, let's talk about our predictions a little bit. You want to?
Predictions about what?
Or what?
Well, we did a predictions show, right?
Yeah.
And some of those came true and some of those did not. Do you remember this?
Predictions for number 8?
It's about the Death Star plans.
Do you remember that one, Cade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one came true, obviously.
Well, one of the important characters is going to die.
So that was your number 5. All of the important characters died.
Yeah.
So you were right on that one.
My prediction, it's going to be around 600 million.
We don't know yet what the box office is going to top
Yeah.
out. Now, they did have 29 million on preview night, which was Thursday night, which was the biggest of the year, bigger than Captain America, bigger than Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign for box office success. It's going to take several weeks of sustained success to
On
get
preview night, what was Force Awakens?
much higher. I want to say 57 million.
Wow.
Yeah. But it obviously wasn't going to get there. But it still has a chance to get to 600 million. We'll chart the success and update as we record new episodes.
Okay. That black droid is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
You feel like that one came true? Yeah, I loved K2SO.
And there's another scene with those grenades. The guy throws it and he just catches it like without looking. He throws it backwards. And he throws it backwards and kills a bunch of guys. It's pretty awesome.
And he was really funny. Like what part I laughed at when the girl she shot the droid that's the exact same, and he walked like, "Did you know that was me?"
Yeah, that part was funny.
Yeah.
He had a lot of funny lines that I feel like they happened so quickly. The audience didn't really get them until the scene had moved on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but there were a lot of funny stuff from him for sure.
I think who's gonna be in it is Grand Moff Tarkin. Oh, nailed it!
You nailed that one. He was actually in it a lot more than I thought he would be.
I'm happy that he was in it more than
So-
And he looked pretty. He looked straight on because of the CGI.
That's what I was going to ask. What did you guys think of the CGI?
I think he was perfect.
The model of his character is amazing. One of the best CGIs I've ever seen, like CGI things I've ever seen. But his mouth, you could tell his mouth was
off.
CGI.
So
Same with Leia.
If I hadn't pointed it out to you that he was CGI in the theater, or that he was already dead before we saw
I
the
would have
movie,
thought it looked weird.
Would you have known it was CGI, or would you have thought it was a real person?
I would have thought it was weird.
Of course, I would think it was CGI because like of the other movies.
So you would have thought it was a real person.
No.
If I didn't tell you before we went in that movie that guy's dead, and you just were watching the movie.
Oh, I would probably think it's a real person because I wouldn't like pay attention to his mouth and all that stuff.
So I thought he was in it a lot, which surprised me. And then also, if he was going to be in it that much, they could have done like little camera tricks to, if he was a little blurry or off in the distance, or there was something in front of his mouth at certain times that would have hidden. The fact that he CGI would have made it harder to tell. They didn't even try to hide it. He was there front and center for a big portion of the movie, and I could definitely tell he was CGI, but I was really impressed with how brave they were in doing it that way. What about Leia?
Leia looked a little bit better.
I
Than
think
Moff Tarkin did to you? See, I thought Tarkin looked way better.
Yeah.
Leia was obviously CGI to me. She
No.
looked like a video game to me.
not to me. I think
I need to see it
Tarkin
one more
looked
time.
awesome, probably a little bit better. But I think Leia, I think you couldn't tell because it was only a quick glimpse.
It was a
of her.
short scene, but yeah, I thought Leia's CGI model didn't work for me. I'm glad she was in it because I thought it was cool, but
Yeah.
I could obviously tell hers. Moff Tarkin, I mean, I knew and I could tell, but there were times when I thought, man, that looks really good.
I don't think they're gonna have a Rogue 2.
No, I don't think so either. Okay, number 4 for me.
I think it's going to feel very different than other Star Wars movies.
Sort of similar to Attack
Yeah.
of the Clones. It's really similar to Attack of the Clones.
You think it felt like Attack of the
No.
Clones?
It felt sort of like it. in some
I don't
parts.
think so. The only part that's similar is the war, but the story is a lot different.
To me, the only part that felt like Star Wars to me, like the old Star Wars, was when they did it on purpose. When they had a line or a character pop in for a cameo or something that was obviously a reference back to the original trilogy.
Wait, but I have a question. Do you know those two guys that were in the movie that had the same line from number 4?
Yeah,
What-
Ponda Baba and Dr.
Were
Evazan.
they different guys, but it was just you reminded them of?
It's supposed to be the same character.
Oh, that's cool. That's so awesome.
So when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, this movie's taking place right before A New Hope starts, right?
That's so
and
cool.
in A New Hope, they're on Tatooine because they're in the cantina, right?
Didn't they die though when the
No.
No.
the blast came in? That would.
So
Never mind.
who knows where they were when the blast came in? But my point is, how were they there and then the next day on Tatooine in that cantina? That didn't make a lot of sense. And I thought, okay, it doesn't work. They obviously didn't do it for story. They did it just to say, hey, original trilogy fans,
Yeah.
here, this is for you. But if you remember in A New Hope, when he's talking to Luke, he says, you better be careful. We're wanted men on 12 systems, right? That's what he says to
Yeah.
Luke. That means they must get around if they're wanted on 12 different systems.
Yeah.
Maybe I can buy it. They do get around a lot.
You just have to really pay attention.
Yeah. All right, number 3, Cade.
There's not going to be as much lightsabers as any other Star Wars movie.
That is so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
For sure, that's true. And in
There's
fact,
there's only
we saw
one
one,
lightsaber.
and that's what we talked about was
yeah,
with
the
Vader's.
Vader one.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
It was really cool.
I think it's going to have a lot of story.
So we talked about that a while and how the movie was going to be driven by story instead of character, and I think that's very much true.
Yeah.
They didn't really give you a whole lot of character development. You saw some with Jin, you saw some with Cassian Andor, but for the most part, how the characters started is how they ended, for the most part. So I think you were right, Jen. Movie was driven by story.
My number 3 is we will barely see Darth Vader.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see him a whole lot.
I only saw 3 scenes of him.
I
He's
get
actually-
excited when I see him.
Yeah.
I was just happy he was in the movie.
And you had the big payoff with the
Yeah.
awesome battle
Massacre.
scene. Yeah.
Darth Vader was going to kill a lot of the team. Yes.
Yes.
Well, he didn't kill any of the team.
He killed Republic soldiers.
He killed
whatever.
Yeah.
rebel soldiers. None of the team. However, I heard a rumor that some of the reshoots that were done was to give each character from the crew their own death, which is why we saw Bodhi Rook die, and we saw Chirrut die, and we saw Baze die. We saw them all die on their own, K2SO.
Not together.
It's not like their ship blew up at the end or something, right?
Yeah.
I heard that Vader was going to come in and kill them all at one time, which would have been cool to see. But
see Vader
Yeah.
fight that blind
but
guy.
would have taken away some of their, I don't know, character development or attachment to the characters from the audience. And if you think about, I mean, this was a more adult Star Wars movie, but for kids, you get they definitely get attached to these characters, little kids, right? And then in the end, Darth Vader comes and kills them all.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too brutal
And
for
gruesome.
kid
Children.
audiences, right? So I like how they did that, but maybe you were onto something on their original idea, was that Vader was going to come in and kill them all.
You know what one of my favorite parts is? Is when they crash that Republic ship into the Star Destroyer and it moves it to the side
Yeah.
and crashes into the other Star Destroyer.
Oh,
That's
part.
so cool.
That was
and
really
like,
cool.
It seems like those ships were shaped to do stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
the front of them are
The
like
hammerheads.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like shaped like they're meant to ram into something.
Yeah, it
you
looked
know.
like it.
You know, in Star Wars: The Old Republic, you if you're a Jedi, you ride a hammerhead like a
Yeah,
ship
you,
like
you
that.
do.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
pretty, it's really
It's
cool.
red.
Huh.
And when you do the space battles and stuff like that, they're
Yeah.
like fighting like the other Empire ships, and then they usually beat them because they have like really strong guns on the side. And I've never seen something ram into something like that.
That was
That's pretty
cool. So speaking of video games, I heard some commentary on this movie that to them, I told you, to me it felt like expanded universe because it was a smaller story. To them, it felt like a video game as compared to the original movies feeling like
Yeah.
movies because of the point of view. He said it felt like the other movies, the Star Wars saga movies, it's like somebody is telling you a story. Like you're sitting down and somebody's telling you the story of a galaxy far, far away a long time ago, right? Yeah. This movie, it felt like you were in the movie because of the point of view.
Yeah.
It felt like a video game. You were like a first-person shooter almost in the battle. And that's just a different style of shooting a movie. And I think it really worked for this movie. But it was another reason for me that it felt different than the other Star Wars movies. So I thought that was interesting.
I think there's gonna be new models, like new ships and like new guns. I think it's gonna be a lot different.
I saw new guns.
I didn't see new guns. I saw new troopers.
I saw a new TIE fighter.
Yes, the what's it called?
TIE Striker, I think is what it's called.
That was it. Looks really weird, but really cool. It's like they. I've seen somewhere where something looked really similar to that.
TIE
Like,
Probably a
Interceptor.
video game.
it's probably a video game where I saw a ship that looked really similar to
The
that.
AT-ATs were a little different. They had
Longer, skinny
skinny
legs.
legs, yeah.
Oh wait, so they were even taller?
Their legs were skinnier. I don't know if they were taller. There were a few things that were different.
They look like cargo ships. Like they have like those like the different colors.
They actually are AT-ACTs. I think we talked about this last time. All-terrain armored cargo transports.
Wait, I thought
I like when one of them was open and all they had to do was shoot like one middle one and it like fell and collapsed.
Yeah.
Like from the
Hold on.
inside. It looks pretty
I
cool.
I thought I always said AT&T, and you guys would always say it's AT-AT.
Yeah, AT-AT, AT-AT.
AT.
But this one was an AT-ACT.
Oh.
Slightly different model. I liked when they hit the head of it, and it really looked like an animal because its head went to the side, and then it snapped back, and then they hit the vulnerable spot on the neck right afterwards. That was cool. The troopers, we saw different kinds of troopers. The beach troopers looked really cool to me. Their armor.
Colors.
The colors, yeah. They had like kind of almost beach sand colored armor with like
And
some blue and red
they're
on
I
it.
like sand troopers a lot too. Those are pretty cool.
And the
Yeah.
rebels, there weren't like any clone troopers or anything like that. They're like rebels from Battlefront.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't have had. This is not the era of the clones, right? Where
You know what was
Yeah.
weird is that my friend Mike at school, he likes Star Wars too, but he doesn't like original trilogy. He likes prequels,
you know,
and his favorite movie is Attack of the Clones because he loves clones. And he's like talking to me about all these clones and stuff. He goes, "In Rogue One, do you think there are any clones in there?" I'm like,
No, because
I don't
in
think
number
so."
3,
He goes, "Oh man, that sucks."
all the clones died, really.
no, they
like,
didn't
some of
die in
them
number
are.
3. They killed all the Jedi in number 3 with Order of
So,
66,
well-
but they were decommissioned shortly after. They had short lifespans, and they were decommissioned because they knew too much. I mean, that's the general thought by Star Wars fans. But there are a lot of people that love the prequels that are younger because that's what they grew up on. There's a lot of people that hate the prequels because they were expecting, older people usually, that they were expecting something different out of those movies. And then there's a lot of people that hate the prequels because everybody hates the prequels. And you're supposed to hate them, right? So, but there is a large generation of fans, Cade, that are like your friend that grew up on those movies. You guys kind of grew up on those movies.
Yeah.
I love the prequels. I don't love them as much
Like
as the
one
original
used to
trilogy.
be my favorite, Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and then you have a lot of kids that hate the prequels because their dads hate the prequel. Like you know,
It depends on
it
what
It's
just
all
depends.
different.
My opinion, they're not great movies, and I understand their weaknesses, but they are still part of the mythic
trilogy.
Star Wars mythos that has been established and enhanced it quite a bit. And
Told a story.
told a lot of story, and even though they weren't what people expected, that's George Lucas. He takes big swings, and when he, like I said, when he connects, it's a home run. When he misses, it's a big miss. But he takes risks, and he could have played it safe and made him just like the original trilogy, like The Force Awakens was. But then that gets criticized for being too much like the original trilogy. It's like you can't make everybody happy or really anybody happy.
I have a question for you guys. Do you like the lightsaber duels from 4, 5, and 6 where they do a lot of talking and then they strike? Or do you like the new one where they're just all at it?
The duels in the prequels are, like, if you're just looking at the battles, the actual physical battle, are way cooler than the original trilogy ones.
Yeah.
Now, they might not be as meaningful to the story or impact you as much, but like the Darth Maul battle with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon
It's so awesome.
is way better than any other battle
Yeah.
than in any of the saga. So, yeah, it's definitely better as far as like the martial arts aspect goes. Okay, what about, let's see. Oh, I had another one here.
I think you will not see the Star Wars crawler with the yellow letters that float off into space. You will not see that in this movie.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, that was correct. Now, we did get a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, so I'm glad they kept that.
Yeah.
No crawler. It cut right to action.
What was happening?
And then after that, it cut to the title scene, which said Rogue One in yellow letters, and I did not dig the title scene. I think they should have kept the Star Wars font.
Definitely.
I'm okay with not having the crawler, but they should have kept the same style for the title, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got here?
I predict that they're gonna surprise us with old characters.
Yeah.
So we talked about
Leia
that.
was a
There's
surprise.
6. There's 6.
At least.
Grand Moff Tarkin, C-3PO, R2-D2, Leia,
2, 3,
and those
4.
other 2 guys from number 4.
Yeah, and there were more than that. I mean, there was Mon Mothma and
Bail
Organa,
Organa,
General
Grand Moff
General
Tarkin.
Dodonna. The old guy was there with Mon
I want to
Mothma.
see Obi-Wan.
There were the leaders from the Red Leader, Gold Leader from they took old footage from the old movies and cut it in here.
They did?
Yeah, for some of it. I have to go back to watch again to see what parts, but because I didn't pay attention the
think-
first time.
I think Obi-Wan is probably my favorite character in Star Wars all time.
Yeah, he's up there for me, but he's behind R2.
No.
I love
He was
R2.
just so cool.
And, which, by the way, thank goodness he made a small cameo because I would have been upset if there was 0 R2 and 3PO. Okay, what's next?
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
No.
I really hope he's in the movie.
Yeah, there was no Boba Fett. There was no
I
E.T.
wish he was. They
Cade.
should have put him in.
I wanted to see E.T. I really wanted to see E.T.
What I would want him to be like in the war, I would want to be him, like just killing a bunch of rebels.
If Boba Fett had been in the movie, it would have been cool, but it would have been forced.
Definitely.
Kind of like how the two guys from the
He doesn't fit
cantina,
in. There's no bounty.
kind of like the two guys from the cantina that made it, they were forced, but it was a fan service. It was to say, "Hey, fans, we see you. Say, well, look at these guys from the cantina. You'll recognize them. Now cut." At least it didn't impact story, right? But it did feel forced. If Boba Fett had been in there, it would have been really forced.
Yeah.
It would have made the Star Wars galaxy too small. There's no way that we can run into all the same people every time we go somewhere, right?
You know what I didn't like? You know what I'm happy they didn't do? Have any of the main characters use lightsabers in this one. It would have been kind of weird, and especially Jen Erso.
Yeah.
She had the Kyber crystal. I'm like, please don't make a lightsaber out of that.
Yeah.
Like,
What'd you guys think of the planets that we saw? We got new planets.
oh, I love the planets. Yavin 4 was so
Yavin
cool.
4 was
Yavin
very
4 is a
cool.
real planet.
Jeddah was also
A
really
real
cool.
planet?
No, not like it's already been there.
It's not a new planet, yeah. But we got to see a lot of it. We got to see
We got to see Luke's planet that was found on.
No.
What?
Yeah, you remember in the very beginning, he
That
was on it.
Jeddah.
Yeah, Luke's planet.
That's not where Luke was.
No, yeah, it was. I saw the stones and everything.
No.
Yes. What planet is it
We
then?
we don't know the name of Luke's planet that he's on yet. That
It
is
looks
yet.
the exact same. There's nothing different about it. Seriously.
I didn't. The only part of Luke's planet that we saw was a bunch of water and a tiny island that had a lot of steps in green.
You really can't tell.
Jeddah is the planet you're talking about. Did not have any of that stuff. It was mostly kind of desert and city.
No, I'm
There's one city
I'm
and a bunch of
talking
desert.
about when she's a little girl.
Oh.
Okay. That is Jakku, which is like Tatooine. That is all desert. That's
What?
not the same as Jeddah.
No,
No, he's
No.
talking about when
when she sees
Oh,
her
when
dad
she's-
and the
okay.
mom.
Yeah, I don't know what planet they're on there.
It looks the exact same.
Well, I don't know how you can say that
you
because
couldn't
we
see
only
any
saw
water.
You didn't see any water. You only saw a tiny little bit of Luke's planet, right? I mean, you can't say it looks the exact same when you don't have anything to compare it to except that tiny little bit, and that tiny little bit didn't look the exact same as the stuff we saw.
I guess.
But yeah, there was Jeddah, that's where the statues were that were like on the ground, which I thought was really cool. We saw Eadu, Eadu.
Who's that?
It's Edu. They call it Edu.
That's where it was raining and they went to kill Galen Erso.
That reminds me of some of the rebels when they're trying to land their ship on that really
that-
stony place also.
Yeah.
They're like, it's hard to land here. It would be hard to land on that also, you know?
Yeah. What'd you guys think of that part of the story? Well, hold on. More than that, what did you guys think of, like, Jet, were you able to follow why Jin was helping the rebels and her story with Galen Erso, her father?
Wait,
Did it make sense to you? Who is Galen Erso?
her dad.
Who is he to the story?
Like, I think he was a good guy, but he was kind of forced to be on the bad side.
Okay, so you followed a little bit, right? They mentioned Galen Erso's name a lot. Where's Galen Erso? We're looking for Galen. In the beginning, everybody was looking for Galen Erso.
Yeah.
And I was able to follow it fine, but I thought it might be a little
I
difficult.
thought he was trying to get away from what he did on the Empire.
Yeah, but I don't think he could. Like,
So the way he explained it in his hologram was that he, in order to fight the Empire, what he did was pretend like his whole life was building the Death Star, so that way they would keep him around, and they, because he realized they could do it without him at that point. And if
Yeah.
they did it without him, he couldn't have implanted a weakness. So his life, it was dedicated to showing like that was his whole life, was building the Death Star. That way he could build the weakness into it and then try to get a message out.
okay.
But it was, I don't know. I didn't know if that was confusing or if it was hard to follow for you guys at all.
It was pretty easy for me.
Okay. What about the rest of the story? Did you guys like it?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was good.
Were there any parts that bothered you?
Wait, hold on. Probably. I just have to think.
What did you think of Saw Gerrera, the crazy black guy?
I mean, like,
It's kind of weird.
yeah, that's
He
what I
talked
thought.
really weird.
I thought at first I thought he was cool, but then I realized he's falling apart like a lot,
He's falling apart. You can see he had 2 fake legs.
and he has to like
Breathe through
and-
that gas mask. Yeah. He, Forrest Whitaker is a very celebrated actor, the guy who played Saw Gerrera, and he didn't. I think he was maybe underutilized or misutilized in this movie. They could have done more with him. His voice was really weird. He obviously helped Jin when she was little and abandoned her, and they explained that whole thing through some weird exposition that didn't really work for me. So those were some parts of the movies I thought were weaker.
Yeah.
Jin Erso will die.
Yep.
Yep.
So that obviously came true.
Maybe that's another prediction. Maybe the movie ends with Leia putting the Death Star plans into
this is-
R2-D2. Like
no-
that could be a cameo right there, right?
That would be a cool cameo.
So that was almost dead on.
Yeah.
We didn't see her putting the plans into R2, but
See, you're getting
Yeah,
plans.
we see her getting the plans and having the cameo. So that was a good prediction there.
And
So was that ship the ship that got attacked in the beginning of New Hope?
Yes, the Rebel blockade runner, also known as the Tantive V4.
oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really cool.
And the name makes sense because at first she was talking about hope, and number 4 is called A New Hope.
Yeah, they really set that up. Okay, what else we got here?
An old man dying.
That was your worst, Cade. An old man
Yeah.
dying. Okay, that was lame.
No old man died. I don't think. None of them were old, really, in the crew.
You never know.
Krennic was kind of an old man. He
Krennic?
died.
Who's Krennic?
The bad guy that built the Death Star.
Yeah, and what's it called?
Cheer it.
That's not part of the crew, but the S guy.
The what?
Sogahara.
Saw Gerrera.
He died.
Yeah, he did.
He's
die.
kind of old. The Republic going to crap. Just like everything is like burning and exploding. Like just everything is like destroyed. All the characters are dead.
So when I first heard this,
for like 10 minutes, it was just characters dying and the Republic ships getting blown up. That's
yeah.
Remember that?
well, when I first heard this, I was like, "Oh, Jet, you were way off. The Republic didn't go to crap. This is actually the setting up of their hope, right at the end." But then I thought, well, all the characters did die, so you got that part right.
It's kind of It's
Even
like
their ships
crap.
exploding, also, you know.
Well, that's part of battle, exploding ships.
I mean, it's a victory, but at the same time, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Casual fans, your non-hardcore Star Wars movie fans.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Casual fans, your non-hardcore Star Wars movie fans will be very confused about this movie.
Yes.
We can't do that really right now.
Well, we're not casual fans, so yeah, that's going to be difficult for us to evaluate. But I did get a text from Nick, and I'm going to scroll.
out.
Maybe I put it on my notes here, so I don't have to scroll to it. I did. Oh, here it is. Nick sent in a text that said he predicted that I would like the movie more than him. I don't know if that's true yet because I haven't talked to him. I don't even think he's seen it yet. But his reasoning was that there would be subtle things in it that a fanboy would appreciate, but would be lost on more casual fans. And I think that's true. I noticed a lot of things. I wish I'd taken notes on it. I need to go see it again. I noticed a lot of little nods.
Now, I bet people that they were like a casual fan. They weren't like a big fan, but they like Star Wars. They didn't dislike it. That watched it got really confused.
So, how many cores are there in the Death Star they have to activate for the whole... How many cores are there? Do you know? Because they only activated one core.
I don't know. There
has to be a lot of cores because, if they only used one...
They used enough to blow up a city instead of a planet.
One part I got confused, is there, one Death Star plans, and, is there, two Death Star plans?
No, so the message that Galen Erso sent was that, hey, there's a weakness. The weakness is the core reactor, whatever it's called. Whatever reactor it is, if you blow that up, the whole thing blows up or falls apart. You got to go get the plans to the Death Star, the schematics, so you can identify how to get to that weakness. So then they had to go get the plans from whatever planet that was, Scarif. That was the beach planet. And then once they got those plans, they could analyze them to determine how to get to that weakness. So that's what happens in A New Hope. They have the plans. Leia has them, gives them to R2-D2 because their ship is getting boarded by Darth Vader. R2's got to go get to Obi-Wan, who then has to go to Alderaan. Alderaan was blown up, so then they have to get the plans to the Rebellion. They do, and the Rebels then analyze those plans and figure out the weakness. Oh yeah, we have to shoot a missile or whatever down the thermal exhaust port that's about 2 meters wide. Hey, that's not much bigger than Womp Rats. I used to hit those on my T-16 back at home. So Luke uses the Force, drops missiles in the thermal exhaust port, blows up the Death Star.
Then they rebuild it.
Then they build another one that had to be in work before that one was blown up because those things would probably take a long time to build.
I like the first Death Star better.
in the Lego.
I like the first Death Star better than the second Death Star.
Yeah, why?
I like in the Lego one because the Darth Sidious is holding the little Lego pamphlet they have that tells you each individual step, what brick, and he's like, okay, this goes there. He's moving it with the Force in space. He's building it one block at a time.
Yeah,
just because that's funny. It's funny.
Yeah. Nick also said another bold prediction: E.T. will be in Rogue One. So, Kate, you kind of said that too.
I doubted it that he would be in it.
Yeah.
If
E.T. should be in Rogue One.
No, I think he should be in a prequel, not.
He is in a prequel.
No,
he should be an extra.
True movie.
He should be an extra, in the background.
Honestly, guys, he should not be in any other movies. He was being paid homage to in The Phantom Menace, and that's fine, or whatever movie it was, Revenge of the Sith. He shouldn't have a main character role. It was just.
He should. He should be at least one of the guys.
He should be in a real movie, not a side movie.
He
should have his own movie.
He already
Okay, you like never talk into the microphone. I have to constantly point at it, and then when you get excited, you do that, and you like blow up all of our ears.
He should have his own movie.
He does have his own movie. Nick also said that he thought that The Force Awakens would have a lot of repeat viewers because of, it was the first Star Wars movie to come back, and he asked me how many times I saw it, and I said 4. His guess was that Rogue One will have a similar number to go to see it in the theaters, but only watch it once because it doesn't have the same hype that The Force Awakens has. But I already plan on seeing it again. I probably won't see it 4 times, but probably one more time.
2.
I want to see it in 3D because we didn't do that the first time.
4D.
And maybe 4D.
Is
4D be cool? It'd be a lot of
like
vibration.
4D better than 3D or something?
Honestly, no. I would only do it for a movie that I really care about.
What is 4D really?
They have these seats that kind of move and shake a little bit when there's
that's
action.
Dumb. I think that's dumb.
It was cool, but if I wasn't really into the movie, I would not want to see a movie for the first time using that. It's because it's kind of distracting.
Yeah.
And 2, I would only do it for movies that I care a lot about because for the experience.
I would probably do it if it was if I was just wanted to have fun.
Yeah. Okay. What else do I have here? I think that was all of our predictions that we got to. I guess we talked about the story some. We talked about some of the differences, the good versus evil, the myth, the gigantic scale, and all of that.
And what I think we should do podcasts more often.
Yeah, we do need to do podcasts more often. All right, so let's talk about where we rank it. Jet, or we'll do Kate because we always start with Kate. Where do you rank this one in amongst the 8 total Star Wars movies?
Above Attack of the Clones,
because Dad said it,
and really, really close to Revenge of the Sith.
Because Dad said it.
Well, he's had more time to process it now. Originally, you said 8th. So did I when I first thought about it.
So did I, and I still think that.
You still think it's 8th. So, Kate, you have it 7th ahead of Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
I started thinking about it more that night. I would probably rank it over Attack of the Clones also. So why don't we just list our rankings right now? Cade, can you list yours 1 through 8?
1 through 8?
Yeah.
It's got to be A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, not Revenge of the Sith. A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Phantom Menace, actually above Revenge of the Sith, before Phantom Menace, it's Force Awakens, and then Revenge of the Sith, and then
Rogue One.
I can't think of
and then Attack of the Clones. That's 8. Okay, Jet, what's your order?
Mine is Empire Strikes Back, probably A New Hope after that. Then what's it called? Return of the Jedi, which is number 6.
We know the numbers. Just name the movies.
I was just rechecking to see if I got it right.
4 is number 3.
Okay, that's exactly right. When you're listing something in order and then you use a number, it confuses. So
probably Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, and what's it called? Attack of the Clones. Then Rogue One.
And where's Force Awakens?
Oh crap! Okay, but after what's it called? After Attack of the Clones.
Okay, so it'd be number 7. And
actually, before Attack of the Clones.
Okay, so Force Awakens is your number 6, Attack of the Clones 7, and Rogue One 8.
Yeah.
Okay, my order is not too different from you guys. It's A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and Attack of the Clones.
I mean, I just can't believe you like Force Awakens over the prequels.
Why?
Because it's just I thought number 1 was really good.
I like number 1 a lot, but I like The Force Awakens even more.
Mm.
There are some things I like about The Phantom Menace more than The Force Awakens, but overall, I'd have to take The Force Awakens. And I'm hoping that Rogue One moves up on my list. The more I think about it, the more I like it. But I want to
like it a lot more.
I need to see it again. The last 30 minutes, in my opinion, were as good as Return of the Jedi level. Maybe still below A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. But the last 30 minutes were
a good ending.
At that level. The rest of the movie, I liked it, but there were some parts when I was like, man, this could be better. So,
I wish the entire
which
movie
puts it in
was
prequel territory
30.
for me.
I wish the entire movie was the last 30
But what
minutes.
was good about it,
was great. The good stuff was great.
what was great about the Rogue One. I don't really know one character I really disliked in it.
Yeah, I don't think I disliked any of the characters, really. It was just Saw Gerrera I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, and that other guy in the white uniform that Cade said.
Krennic?
Yeah, somebody like that.
Okay.
That he argued, he kind of hated Grand Moff Tarkin. He got jealous.
Krennic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we don't have honorable mentions or the worst this week, obviously, because we're not doing a traditional 5-to-1.
Yep.
I don't have any shout-outs either, but I do have news. We have a phone number that you can call us and leave us voicemails.
Really? What is it?
It is, I'm glad you asked. It is 469-607-5-to-1 or 469-607-5861. We will be taking voicemails there, and we'll play them on our show. So call us and leave us a message, anything you like, preferably relevant to whatever topic we just discussed or will be discussing, and we will play it on our show and talk about it. So again, that number is 469-607-5861, 469-607-5-to-1. That's it. You guys have anything else you want to say about Rogue One before we wrap up?
Moist. Good.
Go see it. Thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/5to1podcast or tweet us at 5to1podcast. Give us your opinions there. Please give us a review on iTunes and call us at our number 469-607-5861. And please join us next time for our discussion on
Top 5 Harry Potter favorite characters.
Love you.